to reduce costs, increase accuracy, and improve use of data for decision making. Hannah has over 10 years of experience in data analytics, monitoring and evaluation, data management, software implementation in the health and agricultural fields. Her background is in environmental health and spatial epidemiology. Kindly join me in welcoming Hannah to give a keynote address.
Thank you, Collins. I'm really excited to be here today and in person, and I know Stuart wishes that he could be here as well. So he asked me to convey his sincere apologies for not being here, but he also asked me to pass along his well wishes for a successful and productive meeting, plus good health and safe travels to everybody. So as Roger mentioned, at the Gates Foundation, we send services. Still, there are 300 million small-scale farmers globally have never received a climate-informed advisory. The gender gap is persistent at 16% for mobile internet access. And there are still hundreds of millions of small-scale producers who do not use or have access to digital agricultural services. With this in mind, we need to continue to work on overcoming barriers to access, such as cost, literacy, and safety. And we need to design for women and those with low literacy and low digital skills. We need to move beyond the era of small pilots and start designing for scale and developing pathways to sustainability. All of this requires working in partnership with private sector, governments, donors, and development finance institutions to ensure we coordinate on institutional and global public good investments to support a vibrant ecosystem of local innovators addressing local challenges. As we saw during the pandemic, there was a rapid increase in the use of digital services. The question now is whether we can bring similar energy and momentum to address the challenges that the global food system faces due to climate change and global conflicts. The situation is somewhat dire, with global undernourishment having increased each year since 2016, reaching 768 million in 2021. Sub-Saharan Africa's undernourishment has gone from 160 million to 260 million in just 10 years. Even as innovations which enable adaptation to long-term climate-related shifts in production conditions are critical, they are insufficient if repeated short-term weather shocks, delivering acute, large-scale crop and livestock losses, depleting family assets, and stifling small-scale producers' ability to and willingness to make investments on their farms. In the past decade, the Horn of Africa has endured 3 severe droughts, with the latest now likely to persist into 2023. This means that parts of Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia will have seen 4 consecutive failed rainy seasons. Our recent commitment, the announcements that we made at COP, demonstrate the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation's continued growing commitment to climate adaptation, ensuring that even in the face of these challenges, we continue to make progress on inclusive agricultural transformation and increasing smallholder farmer incomes, productivity, improving access to nutrition, and ensuring solutions and opportunities are made equitably to men and women. I'd like to thank you all for your creativity, commitment, and hard work. We look forward to hearing about your innovations today. The ideas and connections generated during the conversations and sessions today are critical in order to mobilize our community to help solve these global challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. So far I've had 2 pathways. There's a pathway out of poverty that Roger referred to. There's a pathway to sustainability Hannah has referred to. And now there is a pathway to possibility that Mexico has, and we're going to be talked to or more elaborated on by Sean. But first, let me introduce Sean. Sean is the Regional Director for Africa for the Mexico program, and he is the main reason I insisted in the beginning that we speak in English, because sometimes it gets carried away and start speaking in Swahili. So kindly welcome Sean to take us through a project possibility and the Mexico program.
All right, thank you, Collins. So first of all, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming. Thanks for finding time amongst your busy schedules. We're from the Hustler Nation, so today is about hustling. Today is about building those connections, figuring out how we take AgriFin to the next level. Just also a moment to thank the work of the AgriFin team. All of you work incredibly hard. I know this is a big event in the sort of programming life cycle, so congratulations. Thanks for many sleepless nights. Tomorrow you can have a day off, boss. And also, just take a moment to recognize the contributions of the many donors that have allowed us to do this program and to put together today. So thanks for that. Just in terms of Mercy Corps and how does AgriFin sort of articulate strategy into program, right? So Mercy Corps is a big global international agency. In Africa, we work across 18 countries. The question for us is, how do we start to translate this bigger vision, what we call the pathway to possibility, into programming? So just a little bit in terms of the pathway to possibility, the sort of global vision talks about building resilient communities. And I think more importantly for Africa and for us here in East Africa and the target countries of the AgriFin program, it's really about who within those resilient communities, right? Who are we targeting? Smallholder farmers, and even more importantly, to take a moment to really wrestle with the gender question, okay? And how do we make sure we target inclusive smallholder farmers? Inclusivity is a big word. How do we really do that? So we talk about building resilient communities, and we recognize increasingly two big drivers of vulnerability or poverty, that being the changes in climate and conflict. Clearly big drivers in Africa, and everybody is well aware of the challenges around the changes in climate. And again, I think today the basis of many of the conversations are really going to focus on climate adaptation, changes in climate, how do we mitigate, what are the opportunities. Within Mercy Corps, as we think about building resilient communities, who we focus on, these drivers of vulnerability and poverty, we then think about 4 big sectors where we want to really focus our programming. And that's food security, peace and good governance, economic opportunity, and water security. And so as you think about this program, why we're here today, the many conversations that inevitably will happen, you can pretty clearly see how they align to those big sectors. And this is a good opportunity for a program in a big agency to really articulate how you translate strategy into program. What does it look like? But for sure, in this part of the world, in this continent, food security, water security, economic opportunity really resonate for us, all right? And we know governance is an important part as we think about the enabling environment and how we engage both with institutions as well as the government. As far as those big sectors and the alignment with AgriFin is relatively clear. In addition, we talk about some commitments which again really bring to life the AgriFin program. When we talk about programming that's climate smart, evidence driven, challenges us to bring innovation and creativity, is locally led, and thinking about safe, diverse and inclusive. And again, I think that the opportunity for AgriFin is that it also allows us to really embrace the opportunity of technology, okay? What are the opportunities to use technology to reach scale, to reach hard to reach communities, all of those good things that many of you know better than I do. The challenge from my side, the challenge to the AgriFin team is, how do we really translate these good initiatives onto those technology platforms and take them to scale so that we can impact the 5 million smallholder farmer target that we have. So I just wanted to take a moment to encourage you all to think about this bigger strategy as we bring it down into the what do we do, how do we do it, where do we do it, and remember that it's part of a bigger initiative. So for us as Mercy Corps, there's also an opportunity to use these events. I'm sure there are plenty of my other colleagues in the room to translate much of this into our other country programs, into our other projects across the continent as we strive to learn from this event and expand the work into other parts of the world. So lastly, just to encourage you to enjoy the day, We've all managed to navigate the world of COVID. Let's continue to navigate that. Enjoy the day, hustle, make those connections, and thanks again for coming. Have a good event.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for not getting carried away and losing some of our participants. Pathways are there, and the next individual that is going to speak to you is one that took on something different, to drive or to lead a team and accept a challenge. You've heard from Roger that our challenge was we need to reach 5 million smallholder farmers within the next 4 years with digital, financial, and information services. Stuart, who could not be with us today, came and had conversations with Lisa and felt like we have a very good program going on, and gave us a challenge. I'd like you to do this with less resources, and we had to see if that is possible. So a transition happened, and the individual that is going to talk next decided to take on that particular challenge. And the individual I'm talking about needs no introduction to most of us. He's a program director for the Merciful AgriFin's program, Mr. Sega Katabaki. Welcome, and be ready to receive a very good story from him. He's a very good storyteller.
Morning, everyone. I bet myself that I will try and stand behind the podium, but I tend to like walking a lot. I'd like to recognize there's an Ethiopian delegation that joined us from yesterday, so I'd like to recognize them. If you're from the Ethiopian delegation, raise your hands up. Great. Let's give them a warm round of applause. I know that there are a couple of people from the Gates Foundation. If you could raise your hands up. Round of applause to them. Couple of people from the Bear Foundation, raise your hands up. Many other foundations, many partners. As you can see, this event is a premier learning event. It's a place where all of us, as collaborators in this field of the food system, come together to put our minds together to solve the greatest challenges that we are contending with in our generation. And I'm pleased to see all of you here today. When we were setting up this event, actually a week or two ago, over 400 people had registered online. So we got scared, and we actually had to shut down the pipe because we were not sure how many people would show up. But we were cognizant of the fact that we are living in difficult times. There is COVID present, and there are a number of challenges that we have to navigate to get from one place to the other. So we are really happy that you guys have shown up, and we are looking forward to an amazing event. I had some words. See, I've already started walking away, so let me share some small words here. About 7 years ago, it's about 7 years ago, in 2015, around the same time, or Lisa, was it December? Yeah, around the same time, we were at the Norfolk Hotel when we were launching the AgriFin Accelerate program. We had done about 5 months of work and concentrating on how we can really accelerate digital innovation for smallholder farmers. For those of you who do not know or are new to AgriFin, AgriFin works to really facilitate the innovation and the deployment of digital solutions to smallholder farmers by working through private and public sector partners. We work with them to identify what are the pathways to adoption and active use of those solutions, to identify the bundles that you can put together to ensure that those farmers truly benefit from those digital solutions and increase their productivity and incomes. So that's who we are in general. So at the launch of this event, we were at very uncertain times because it was, even though it was the child of AgriFin Mobile that 3 years before had worked very hard to build mobile technology solutions for smallholder farmers, we still were not sure which way and which direction we would go. we knew that we had to work with core partners because we believed that core partners or organizations that had a more stable balance sheet were capable of scaling and delivering digital solutions to smallholder farmers. We knew that working with value-added service providers, the agtechs here, I see companies like Coamana, AgriFin's, etc., were critical in innovating and coming up with new ideas and new approaches to targeting digital solutions for smallholder farmers. But we were not certain in terms of the many ways that we could deliver on this promise. And at that event, we had reached about 200,000 farmers. And we had a goal of achieving or reaching just 1 million farmers in 5 years. Yeah. So as you can see, the current goal is much, much more ambitious. Yeah, and a lot more work. But a lot of things have also changed in the ecosystem. Yeah, global pressures have increased tenfold. Climate change is really beginning to take root. Farmers are getting more and more disruptive on a daily basis, making their farming practice a lot more difficult. Yeah, conflict is all around us, both local, national, and international. And we've seen the effects of international conflict, where supply chains are totally decimated. Yeah? We've seen the effects of COVID and the pandemic, where our way of working has continuously changed. I mean, during the COVID time and now, we are all still facing the ramifications of such a pandemic. Work from home has changed the culture. Yeah? And oftentimes we wonder, yeah, are all these virtual meetings necessary? But the world has truly become a lot smaller place, a much more interconnected world. Yeah, I would have an easy day, 8 hours, meeting a couple of partners in Kenya, maybe a call or two to a couple of partners abroad, just making sure that those projects are going well. Now I constantly are looking at my calendar to make sure I'm not missing a meeting with someone in the US, someone in the UK, someone in Asia, someone in Zimbabwe, etc., etc. So our times, yeah, has become a very limited resource. And we often do not have enough time to really sit down and think how our actions are going to deliver quality to those people that we intend to impact. And a day like today is one of those times where you have a time allocated to you to actually have that quality thought, to actually sit down and reflect on the things that you have done, on the things that you are planning to do, in collaboration with great minds around you. You will find partners, you will find people who are willing to share, yeah, their experiences, to share the things that they have done in order to impact the lives of smallholder farmers. We have created an event, we have opened up a space for that conversation. So beyond this opening plenary, we really truly hope that in every session, yeah, it's not just the speakers who are in the front that are giving advice and giving ideas. It is you in the audience, because all of you are experts. It is you in the audience that are contributing positively to the outcomes for this event. We treasure the information we get from these events. On our website, we have all the past ALEs, the outputs. Those pieces of information, those nuggets of wisdom guide us in our path and journey towards building a better organization and impacting as many smallholder farmers as possible. In 2015, we learned from that uncertainty to build a framework, a methodology that really truly impacts the partners we work with. We also learned ways in which to extend that methodology to work across different geographies, different countries, different contexts, and different partner aspirations. And we hope that through that methodology, we can continue to build a partner ecosystem that impacts smallholder farmers. So today I'm proud to say that in 1 year, we have already surpassed 2 million smallholder farmers registered on digital solutions. That is a testament to a methodology, a strategy, a way of working that truly has the capability of scaling digital solutions to smallholder farmers. And I'd like to greatly thank our founding program director, Lisa Schrader. Please stand up. Yeah. For the great work that she did in spearheading the way that we work today. We hope that we can take those lessons forward and build on them so that we can all better achieve the goals that we want to achieve. I'd like to close with this, and I always close with a small story. Yesterday I talked about traffic. Today, in the morning as I was fueling my car to come to this event, my mind went back to a couple of months ago when in Nairobi, and I think in parts of East Africa, we were facing a fuel shortage. And for the first time in Nairobi, I actually had to look for petrol. There were lines at fuel stations. It was crazy. And it's not the first time I've seen this. I think in Sudan, this is an occurrence. I've seen this sometimes in Nigeria where there's no fuel. And you have to make a plan in terms of how to navigate, how to mobilize yourself, how to ensure that you're continuously mobile. Yeah? And there were nice small tweaks. Someone actually created an app to let you know which fuel station had fuel on a certain day. You know, you'd go onto social media and find out information on where fuel was, and lucky enough for you, if you had enough fuel to navigate and get to that fuel station. Isn't this a similar crisis that smallholder farmers face on a daily basis? Lack of access to information, not knowing what to do, not knowing where the markets are, lack of access to finance. Smallholder farmers face this kind of crisis on a continuous basis. And if us, who are put in the same crisis, struggle to be resilient, how much more so do smallholder farmers struggle? So we have a challenge before us to really help these farmers navigate the situations, to really help them, provide them the resources, the skills that they will require to make sure that they can have positive lives and enjoy the economic benefits that many of us enjoy in this given day. So it's my hope that today we shall have those conversations, we shall have those reflections, and ensure that this learning are not lost and we can carry them forward. I hope you all have a great day, and I'm looking forward to the many discussions with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Siaka. I did not put the program in the background to distract you, but just to make you appreciate the amount of content or conversations we're going to have today. So if you like to take a deep breath, it's the time to take a deep breath, because we have a lot to share with you today, as we always do. Every single learning event, the biggest challenge we have is how do we share what we have in one day. So hopefully we can be able to now convince you as partners if you can be able to continue doing this more often or doing this in a more length bigger or length period of time. So since we're running a short of time, I'd like to take us quickly through the agenda. I've just finished the morning remarks. Immediately after, we're going to go to the breakout sessions. So one breakout session is going to be here. That breakout session is a driving investments in digital agriculture. That is going to be led by Vice Jaraga, our social program director. And if that is a session you'd like to be involved in, kindly stay in this room. And then there's another session in Mount Kenya that is sharing agricultural data. That is going to be led by Mimi Macau. It's going to be in Mount Kenya. It's upstairs. Maybe I got my bearings wrong, but you take a right. And then there's a third session on gender. That is going to be led by Kasim. That is going to be Mount Elgon. So the only difference that we have made this year is that we wanted to give our partners a platform to showcase their technologies. So we created a webinar session just before lunch, where you can go to the marketplace and interact with some of these innovations across the region. So in the next room, Kilimanjaro 3, we'll have our marketplace participants. We're going to be talking through the solutions they have. We're lucky enough to only host 16 of them. We hope to even host more next year. We just didn't have amount of space that we need to host more of them. But you can go there, have a conversation with them. I encourage you to visit as many as you can. who are going to be in this particular hall, lunch is going to be served at the restaurant that is down the hall. For those who are upstairs, lunch is going to be served upstairs. So we're going to be shown by ushers. You can easily identify them. They have the branded Mexico t-shirts, and you can grab them wherever you're going to go. And before you go for lunch, we're also going to be handing you a voucher for you to go with to lunch. After lunch, we really encourage you to keep time. We'll go immediately to session 4 on digital climate agriculture. That is advisory. That is going to be led by Victoria and Elias. It's going to be in this room. So after lunch, welcome back here. We're going to walk through. We're going to be having a special lunch. None of you might have heard of support, but it was developed and an idea was conceived during the COVID pandemic, mainly because that is when we realized that we need to be more innovative and how we get good access to information to smallholder farmers. So we developed the Open Agriculture platform, which evolved to become Sport. So we're going to have that lunch today here in this room, and then in Mount Elgon we're going to talk about platforms, and in Mount Kenya we're going to be talking about financial inclusion from China markets with access to traditional technology. Maybe after that we're going to have a small coffee break. Again, it's a transition to just give you a break on trying to find out to be able to hear from the afternoon sessions. Then we're going to have a closing panel in this room. We're going to have 5 participants. The conversation is going to be led by myself and going to the lobby. We're going to be talking about different particular issues that are facing the ecosystem and the environment and smallholder farmers, and we're basically able to address them. So we're going to have different individuals and participants from different organizations that are going to be having a conversation with us. So after that, we'll just have a closing remarks, and then for some of us, we're going to have a closing event upstairs at Mount Kenya. So with that, I'd like to welcome you officially to the 6th annual learning event. I welcome you to have conversations, have interactions, network as much as you can. We want to pick your brains, and I want to ensure that we develop solutions that can actually lead to smallholder farmers coping much better, and as I said, for them to adapt for the future and for them to thrive as well. So welcome, and let the conversations begin. All right. All right, so I think we can go upstairs. The teams are already set up. So Mount Kenya, Mount Elgon, and then for Kilimanjaro, you can stay here.
Taki. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. At the Gates Foundation, we are guided by the belief that all lives have equal value, that no matter where you were born or who your parents were, you deserve to live a healthy and productive life. It is a lofty goal, one with many challenges. What we do know is that to achieve it, there must be reliable pathways out of poverty. And in sub-Saharan Africa, where in many countries over 70% of the population is involved in the rural economy, that path goes through inclusive agriculture transformation. To sustainably increase productivity, raise incomes, and improve nutrition, we need solutions designed by Africans for Africans. Digital innovations are one way to introduce greater efficiencies into agricultural systems, enabling millions of farmers to access the services necessary to stabilize and grow their businesses. The evidence we have to date shows that bundling advisory services together with credit, insurance, and market access tools will have a multiplier effect on farmer incomes and productivity, thus contributing to the acceleration of agricultural transformation. I'm proud of the work we've achieved thus far. The digital climate-informed advisory services, the Excellence in Agronomy platform, and the Resilience Plus insurance program are models for how we can empower farmers and accelerate economic mobility. ADF1 itself reached 2.3 million small-scale producers through 34 ag tech products over 2 years. With a $13.5 million investment in ADF2, our financial services and agricultural development teams, as well as with support from the Bayer Foundation, GIZ, the Walmart Foundation, we intend to reach 5 million small-scale farmers and producers by focusing on bundled digital farmer services, improving women's access to such services, and addressing the impacts of climate change. And with this, we have set ourselves a challenge of a 50% increase in incomes and productivity, a 50% active user rate, and having at least 40% of our registered users be women. In this first year, ADF2 has already reached a third of our intended population. For the rest of the hundreds of millions of farmers that will need these services to thrive, we commit to gathering more evidence on what is working and showcasing the exemplars that have demonstrated that these services can and must scale. It will not be easy. The increasing pressure on food systems due to the COVID pandemic, the conflict in Ukraine, and climate change have impeded and even reversed previous gains. As the Foundation increases our own commitment to climate adaptation, we strive to ensure that solutions will not only sustainably increase productivity, but also increase farmer resiliency in the face of any future crises. And yet, despite the obstacles, we've seen a rapid increase in adoption of digital services, demonstrating the potential of what can be achieved with focus, coordination, and partnership to solve complex problems through innovative solutions. Clearly, there is a demand for this work. It is important now more than ever to support small-scale producers globally, and especially across the African continent, as they have contributed the least to these global challenges, but also face the greatest risk in the years ahead. We cannot do it alone. The success of these global public goods will be determined by the partnerships we build and those we can inspire to join us. As we look toward tomorrow's challenges, let me thank you all for the time, energy, and hard work you bring to this project. Your commitment is an inspiration, and I look forward to seeing what you'll achieve.